Well, now that we're into the off season, let's start talking about free agents that we would like to re-sign starting right now. And folks, welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg. I hope you are having a great day. And of course, this channel is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure that you have subscribed to the channel. And when you do, also hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. So, yes, our season, of course, ended. Been a fabulous, great, excellent season. I mean, beyond expectations, right? But unfortunately, now we're having to talk about going into the off season, and now our focus shifts toward free agents that we may need to re-sign. Now, this is not going to be a video on free agents out there that I would like to see in a Commander's uniform next year, but more or less just current Commanders that I would personally like to see. I'm going to share this, and we're going to kind of go through this real quickly. So the first guy on the list, of course, is Bobby Wagner. He was signed to a 1-year deal this year, and I thought he's played pretty well. He was an alternate for the Pro Bowl, and now as of this week, he is taking the place of the Eagle that was in the Pro Bowl, and he will be in the Pro Bowl, even though it's not really what I consider a football game. But there you go, Bobby Wagner. So, of course, he's 34 years old, but, I didn't see really any of a drop off in talent for him this year in play. I thought he brought, of course, a lot of leadership, which is something that defense needed desperately. And, he made plays this year, obviously. He had over 100 tackles for the 13th consecutive year, and that's tying Washington's legend, London Fletcher. We know how much we love Fletch here in Washington. Now, the article, of course, does talk about Wagner is a step slower, which is to be expected. Maybe he's not the impact player that he was 10 years ago, but he still made a lot of plays. And I think his leadership is important. Now, of course, I wouldn't sign him to a multi-year deal. If he's willing to come out for maybe another year or two, I would take that. But I would like to see Bobby Wagner back on the field. I think the defense needs him. I think he does provide leadership. But then again, we also have to talk about this. Don't get too hyped up into the household names, right? Years ago we had Bruce Smith on our defense, right? And you would think, oh, no, we can't get rid of Bruce Smith. But, Bruce Smith was a shell of himself by the time he came to Washington. Now, Wagner, I would say, yeah, he probably is a step slower, but I think he was far from being a shell of himself. He still made some plays. And I think, especially if we're bringing in some new blood, I would like to see somebody like him there helping to coach those guys up, being kind of a coach on the field, so to speak. I would like to see him, if he would be able to sign maybe at least another 1-year deal, maybe 2-year deal. I could probably see that. And yeah, I just, Bobby Wagner, some people may disagree with me. I just think he needs to be back. Marcus Mariota. When he had to come in for Jaden Daniels in the Panthers game, I mean, the dude just flat out went off. He honestly, he really looked the best I've ever seen him play. in his professional career. He, whenever his number was called on, he delivered. He delivered in that Dallas game. He played really well there. And he's an extremely valuable backup. I think he also helped to mold Jaden Daniels as well. But I think Marcus Mariota, I think he deserves a shot at being a starter somewhere. I think that he's still good enough that he could be a starter. And I could see some teams out there who are desperate for a quarterback who would be willing to bring him in. I think he can still start for several teams in the league. I would love to see him back, but I also like the idea too of having a younger guy there. We got our Playboy there that all the women seem to like. Maybe he takes a big giant leap forward next year and challenges for that backup spot. But Marcus Mariota, though, I mean, he is a talent, and it was a big luxury having him as a backup to Jaden Daniels this year. I'd love to see him back, but I think he's one of the guys that we could look at and see he needs to go somewhere. He needs to be able to start again. I think he's proved his worth in the NFL. So I would be okay seeing him go, but at the same time, if he was able to stay, it's all the better for us. Jeremy Chinn, I think that he has been one of the better players on that defensive side there for Washington. Now, I did read a lot of negative things about him in social media from fans, but fans are very spirited and emotional. And especially during games, they're going to be like, oh, man, this guy sucks or whatever. He doesn't always make the plays, but he makes a lot of good plays when he does. He finished with 117 tackles and 7 for loss. And then, of course, he started every single game this year. Again, when you're a prove it deal, I think he proved his worth. I thought he played very well. Who are you going to replace him in the secondary right now? I mean, that's the thing. I think that he upgraded the secondary. I mean, look at our secondary from last year, right? He definitely upgraded the secondary. I would sign him on a multi-year deal. I think he's proven his worth. That secondary needed a lot of help, and he proved it. Now, here's the one that I have to admit I felt was going to be supplanted by Ben Sinnott later in the season because I was kind of like, what does he have left? Zach Ertz. I felt okay. This is a 12-year guy. Obviously, is at the very tail end of his career. He's hadn't really done much in the NFL in the past couple of years or so. Dealt with injuries, whatnot. I just don't see. I felt that he was brought in to kind of help mold the younger guys a little bit more, kind of show them the ropes. Of course, like I said, we drafted Ben Sinnott, so I kind of figured he would probably start by mid-season. I may have even said that in a video. But Ertz, as the season progressed, he got better, and he became a vital part of the offense. I mean, he had a big playoff. But I mean, he finished with 66 receptions, 654 yards, 7 touchdowns, and it revitalized his career. He said he fell in love with the game of football again, which means that, I think things were getting a little stale for him. I think he felt like things were coming to an end, and then he comes to Washington, and suddenly he's playing great football again. He's not going to be a burner down the field. Um, he's, but he's a guy that is right there when you need that first down, when you need those tough yards. I mean, heck, when you need a good receiver there on first down after an option or a play action pass or whatever, he's right there. And so Zach Ertz, I changed my mind about him throughout the season, and especially toward the end of the season. I saw how valuable he became to the Washington Commanders, and I really think that he needs to be re-signed. Um, I think at best, though, you give him 2 years. That's it. No, of course, no 4 or 5 year deal. He's a 12-year vet. Um, he's way, way on the wrong side of 30, but I think you give him a couple more years. I think you give him an opportunity to see if he can get a ring with Washington. And I mean, he looked better as the season progressed. And I think that you keep Zach Ertz. I think if the contract is right for both sides, why not? Why not sign Zach Ertz? Now, it could be that Sonat does supplant him in season 2, and honestly hope that's the case, because it really seems like we have struggled to find our tight end, honestly, since we had Reed. And we just need a guy in there in that tight end position who is going to be our passing outlet, who knows how to block. And Ertz, I think if he's still serviceable, you sign him to a decent contract and say, look, you have a chance to go to the Super Bowl with this team. Why don't you give it another shot? Another year or two. You're probably going to retire after that anyway. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to say that, but I mean, just case in point, tight ends usually are not in the NFL for more than 10, 12 years. So I would probably give him a small contract, maybe if he's okay with coming back for another year, a year-to-year contract. Why not? With built-in incentives. I think that would work for me. What about you guys? Okay, I'm going to speed this up because I'm recording this right before I have to go to work. So I want to get through this video, but Tressway, I'm not going to spend much time on Tressway. Yeah, not because he's a punter, just because it would make absolutely no sense in not re-signing Tressway. I mean, Tressway needs to retire a Washington player. He's been in Washington for the longest of anybody. Um, he's got the more passing yards in the NFC Conference Championship than Dak does. Just saying. You re-sign him. Definitely re-sign Tressway. Colin Farrell, I mean, he made some plays this year. He did have a knee injury, missed a few games. He had 3.5 sacks. Could we do better? I think we could. I would like to see more out of the edge. I really do want to see some great bookends that, like we thought that Chase Young and Montez Sweat were supposed to be. Montez Sweat probably more than Chase Young, but this is one of the guys that I think he was serviceable, but I think we can do better. I think we'll draft. I think we'll draft an edge this year. I really do. So, and probably someone who's going to start right away. So I think probably won't re-sign Farrell. Dante Fowler, he had 1 year deal, $3.25 million. He led the team with 10.5 sacks. He's 10-year veteran. I mean, he 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 gave us some plays. I really liked how Fowler played for the most part this year. Could we do better? Maybe. He's one of the guys that it's kind of on my edge of, if we cut him loose, we do. If we keep him, I think that would be great. I don't know if he deserves a huge contract. And I think if that's what he's looking for, then Adam Peters will probably cut him loose and find someone else. But for the most part, he was effective this year. I would like to see him back if the contract is right, but something tells me that he's probably going to go elsewhere next year. Uh, Cornerback Michael Davis, gone, very much gone. Uh, I just, he has not played well at all. Yeah, he's appeared in 15 games, but you wouldn't know it if you saw it. So I don't see him coming back whatsoever. Cornerback Noah Igamenabini. Did I did I even get close to his last name right? Probably not. Um, I think he was very much an excellent value this year. Now he's not a top corner. He's not going to be able to be lined up against your wide receiver one and shut him down. But he's serviceable. He's played well at times, and I thought he played much better than Emmanuel Forbes and Benjamin St. Juice, to be honest. I think he's a good depth signing, and I think if you're able to keep him, and understand that he's going to be a depth guy to back up your shutdown corners, then obviously I think you need to bring Noah back. But we'll see. It's all about what he's willing to have. If he's willing to stay in Washington, where I feel like they are building a Super Bowl contender, then why not? Why not? Cornelius Lucas, he has been with Washington for several years. Um, it's hard to talk about wanting to get rid of anybody who is on the offensive line, who can come in when linemen get hurt. But he has basically been your career backup for several positions on the offensive line, so he's very versatile. I think if you're able to sign him with a short term deal, that's fine because, I mean, he is very reliable. Um, and you're always going to need depth on that offensive line. Um, Again, the contract has to be right. It has to be right. And if it's too much, I think you can let him go. But Lucas has been great for us as far as depth on that offensive line. Trent Scott, another guy. Um, I mean, I thought he came in and played okay, um, in the absence of Sam Cosmi, who, of course, had that ACL tear. Another guy that I'm not sure if he's going to be anyone who could be able to start, but I think if you're able to sign these guys on the cheap, knowing that, okay, these guys are going to probably come in when someone gets hurt, but you're really going to be a depth signing. You need as many um, offensive linemen as you can get. Same with Deer. I think you keep him with depth. He's come in when our center's gotten hurt. We need the depth. So I think you sign these guys, but you sign them on the cheap. No huge deals. Uh, Omalad Zacchaeus, um, he played really well for us this year. Um, I think there's better receivers out there, and I think that we will be looking for better receivers. He's been our punt returner. He had over 500 yards and 3 touchdowns this year. Very serviceable wide receiver. Again, it's one of those things. If it's a cheap signing, fine, but you're not going to sign him to a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal. You're just not. Um, Diami Brown, is one that I know a lot of people are going to be on the fence about. I felt like he had his breakout season this year. He's played really well. He's a young guy. He's very fast. He's a burner. I seriously think you keep Diami Brown. I think he just needed that good quarterback to play with, and he's got him, of course, in Jaden Daniels now. I think you do go ahead and you sign him to a multi-year deal. Um, he doesn't sound like, when interviewed, he didn't make it sound like, oh, I really want to come back. And that was probably more of in the direction of his agent, saying, don't be too excited about wanting to come back and all this stuff. Play hardball. You've played really well this year. You deserve a big deal. I'm sure that's what his agent is telling him. And he in the article it says he's an ideal number 3 receiver. He could push to be a number 2 receiver possibly, but if he goes, you definitely know that Washington is going to try to sign somebody like T. Higgins, somebody like that who's proven, who can be a game changer. But Diami Brown, I would love to see Diami Brown back, but you do have to look at his whole body of work throughout his career in Washington. This was the first year that he really seemed to play really well. He can definitely be a serviceable guy. We do need someone who can stretch the field, and he can definitely do that. And he I will say though, for all the big catches that he catches, he will drop those catches as well. So things can be iffy with Diami Brown, but I mean overall he really did shine this year, and I think you have to look at seeing if he's willing to come back for a cap friendly deal. If he's wanting a lot of money, then he's going to have to hit the trail. Noah Brown, I don't see Noah Brown coming back. He did, of course, I'll always love him for the Hail Mary catch. I just don't see that he's coming back this year, especially if he's going to be kind of injury prone. But I mean, I could be wrong. They may wind up signing Noah Brown over Diami Brown. But I look at him as more of your possession type receiver, which you need. He's tall. He's a tall target. So, you really love having a huge receiver like that. I don't know. Maybe it's because that he was injured and we didn't see him for the rest of the season. I don't know if he comes back. I really don't think he comes back. Jamison Crowder, I don't see Jamison Crowder coming back. It was nice to have him coming back last year and, of course, this year. But I think Crowder is finally done in Washington. I certainly appreciated what he did when he was here, with Jay Gruden, and certainly that big catch to beat the Eagles during the season was great. But I don't see Jamison Crowder coming back. If for anything, it's because we got other guys like McCarthy, who should be able to be developed. So, or not McCarthy, but McCaffrey should be able to be developed. I don't see Jeremy McNichols coming back. He was serviceable, but honestly, I don't know why we didn't give Chris Rodriguez more of an opportunity. I felt Chris Rodriguez played better when he was in there than McNichols. So I don't see McNichols coming back. Again, Chris Rodriguez, if it's between those two, I would bring back Chris Rodriguez. I really would. I think he gives more of an effort on game day. Now, maybe it's a practice thing. I don't know. But I like Chris Rodriguez better than McNichols. I don't want Benjamin St. Juste back. I'm not going to spend, again, I have to go to work, folks. But I don't see Benjamin St. Juste coming back. He's not really proven to really be anything more than a penalty type of guy. I think he's done in Washington. We need to move on. Austin Siebert, he got hurt. He actually started the season great. And then, of course, missing those field goals against Dallas when he probably was still injured. Probably shouldn't have played in that game. I don't see him coming back. I also don't see Zane Gonzalez coming back either. I think Washington will have a brand new kicker next year. Who knows? Maybe they even draft a kicker. But those two guys are gone. Sheldon Day, he did bring some experience to the middle of the Washington's defensive line. I don't, maybe he comes back in terms of a depth signing, but other than that, same with Holmes, maybe depth signing. But I think these guys are probably going to hit the trail. Nick Bellalore, we didn't really hear much out of him, but he is better with special teams. So if he makes the team again next year, it'll be because of special teams. And you do need some of these guys to really build up those special teams. Walker, again, a special teams guy, plays really well in special teams. These guys won't be signed for huge deals if they do come back. It'll be really because of special teams, and that's it. I don't see Forrest coming back at all. He did, again, special teams he played more of. He played more on the defense before Dan Quinn got here, but I think it's safe to say you're probably going to see Forrest gone. John Bates, you need more than one tight end, obviously. John Bates is good with blocking. I think that you keep him in terms of being that. I always consider him like a Donnie Warren. Donnie was known more for blocking for the running backs and stuff like that. And every now and then he would be open for a pass. I think he's a young guy, and I think between him and Snot, and if you do re-sign Ertz, I think you got your tight end. So I do see John Bates coming back. Jeff Driscoll, probably not. Don't think Jeff will come back. Kaz Allen, they did just re-sign him to a future deal, so Kaz is coming back. Haggy, maybe a practice squad person. KJ Osborne, I have to check. I'm not sure if he was re-signed or not to a future deal. I don't think he was. So out of all of these guys, you've heard about the ones who I think will come back. I think if I had to pick three of these guys, number one, Tressway, I think Zach Ertz, and I think Bobby Wagner would be the three guys that I would probably re-sign back to Washington on small deals, on short-term deals. And if these guys are able to, maybe come back for one more year, maybe two tops, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I think it's time for some new blood. And I think that you're going to see Adam Peters going out there cooking, and you're going to see him really being able to sign some big-time guys. And I think you're also, but really, honestly, you're going to see him really, I want to see what he does in the draft, because that's where he shines. And that's really where we need to focus on as far as building our team. So I think it's important to keep some of these guys, especially when you bring in new guys. But you do want to see the new guys supplant these older guys, because that means that you've drafted well. That means you can finally pass the torch, and that's what we need. So, folks, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, give it a share. Let me know in the comments who you would want to re-sign. Now, we're talking about re-signing. We'll have another video where we talk about other free agents that we would like to pick up. But in the meantime, go to work.